Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 231 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. Have you subscribed to my podcast? If you have, thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you haven't, what are you waiting for? Get in here. Okay, so our life stories, we all have them. We all have past stories we like to tell. And how we tell them drastically affects our current state of mind and our future. I love a good story. And in case you haven't noticed, I love to tell stories too. I love to tell my story. And I love to hear other people tell theirs. We're just so fascinating. We all have really interesting stories if we just listen to each other. For instance, I'm going to tell you one of mine. I'm going to set the tone first. It was my first day as a freshman in high school. I'm sure we can all relate to that day, right? Ugh. I was nervous and insecure and everything that comes with being a teenager on the first day of a new school. But I also, due to the religion I was raised in, wasn't allowed to stand for the national anthem, which they played every morning at my new school, and I knew it. I was going to have to sit while it was played. That gave me a great deal of anxiety. You can imagine that's not really a good look. Because we live in the greatest country in the world, right? And that flag represents our freedoms. So of course, today I stand. But at the time, I didn't see that as an option. So I'm in my homeroom class, right? First day, new teacher, new classmates. And I tell my teacher right away, quietly, off to the side, that I can't stand for the national anthem. And where would it be best to sit so I don't stand out? Now, I'll never forget what happened. That's interesting so far, right? Now, I'm going to tell you what happened in just a minute. But like I talked about in episode 229, this is another thing you have in common with every other person on the planet. You have a story. And how you tell that story affects pretty much everything you do. An empowering story will lead us to a life of endless possibilities. And no matter how you were raised, where you are in your life right now, what your ex told you about yourself, how you were treated in school, you can take that and let it damage your confidence or wear it like an anchor around your neck, or you can turn it into something that drives you, something that empowers you. We don't control the past, but we do control how we think about it. We control how we talk about it. And how we think and how we talk about it matters a lot. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, what happened happened. I'm just telling my story as it is. Okay, all right, I'll give you that. We aren't going to change the things that happened to us that weren't good, or the things other people said or did to us, or the mistakes we've made in the past. Those things are done. But that's the good news. They're done. They're history, and you get to write that history book of your life. You're writing it in your head right now, whether you know it or not. Why not be intentional about how you tell it? More than likely, there's a general way you portray yourself in the past. And that affects who you are today, how you are today, and how your life will be in the future. If you portray yourself as a victim, always blaming someone else for the reason you aren't where you want to be right now, it'll feel impossible to change because in your mind you have no control. You've given all your power away. It's someone else's fault that you are where you are. But if you tell your story in a way that empowers you and inspires you, that's when you see change. And there's stories you tell yourself, you don't even realize you're doing it. Like when you say something like, well, I'm just more fun when I drink. Well, I might say that to myself sometimes. But is that working for me? Is that working for my goals? Of course I can have just as much fun not drinking. I've done it many times. How about the saying, I'm just destined to be overweight? It's hereditary. When you say things like that, it just seems so impossible to change because it's out of your control. Don't give your power away to your ex, your heritage, your mom, your dad. Claim it for yourself. Claim it for your future. So back to my first day of high school as a new freshman in a new school with new classmates and a new teacher. I've asked my teacher where to sit so that I'm inconspicuous when the national anthem is played. And I don't know if this was intentional on her part or not, But she said, just sit in the back of the room. It'll be fine. So that's what I did. There was a back seat right in the middle of the room. And so I sat there, not noticing the flag directly above my head. So my teacher takes roll and it's time for the national anthem. Where's the flag? Directly above my head. So everyone in the classroom stands up, turns around, and there I am, sitting, facing them, directly below that flag. I can still feel how I felt that day. Because at the time, I saw no option to stand. It had been drilled in my head by the religion over and over that it would be sinful and wrong to do so. So I sat there, embarrassed and ashamed. Now, fast forward to today. I could tell that story to show why I'm a victim, how hard my experience was, and how it made me bitter and distrusting of authority. But I look back at it and I say, wow, there's not a lot of people that would have done that. Most people would have just stood and turned around like everyone else. But I sat there and I faced them. And as I walked out of class that day, I looked my homeroom teacher in the eye, not ashamed for myself, ashamed for her. And then I went to the principal's office, explained my plight. And from that day forward, I worked in the office during homeroom, which was amazing and so cool because I got to know the principal and the office workers really well. And that opened up new doors and opportunities for me. I stood my ground that day, and I didn't just take it. I did something about it. I never went back to that homeroom. I had my own back, just as I will always have my own back. That's how I tell that story. I'm not a victim, and you don't have to be a victim of your past either. You get to decide how you tell that story and what you make it mean. My challenge to you today is to think about the way you frame your past. Are you clubbing yourself over the head for it? Or are you using it as an excuse for why you're not where you want to be? Are you telling yourself you can't do extraordinary things because of the way you were raised? I challenge you to reframe those stories so that they show you just how powerful you are and just how much you've overcome, and you're still here, showing up and showing out because they've made you into the awesome person you are today, whether you believe that to be true or not. I'll believe it for you until you believe it yourself. You hold a lot of power in that head of yours, a lot of which is unlocked when you decide to stop being a victim of your past and you start being the hero that is still standing in spite of it. Life really is working for you, not to you. Tell yourself that every single day. It'll make you look for what's right instead of what's wrong. And listen, if you're enjoying these episodes, I put them out twice a week on Monday and Friday. Subscribing allows you to see my podcasts out of all the other 30 million podcasts out there. And share this episode with 2 people today. We're so quick to share bad news, but sometimes not so quick to share good stuff. So let's break that trend today. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.